Welcome Motivation Sunday. Welcome Motivation Sunday.
Welcome to another edition of Motivational Sundays with Kevin and friends. We meet every Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we do start on time. Hi, my name is Kevin McLemore. I am your show host. I am joined with a group of wonderful co-hosts, Mr. Naeem Garcia. You've probably seen him on the big screen. If you haven't, you need to check out some of the films, and just Google him. You'll find out. And we got Miss PJ Strout. We got Larnez Kinsey, Kurt Battles, which is the voice of our show, Miss Lois Campbell, and we got, like they said, what's that song? Two lovebirds in a tree, Tulili Dee Dee. We got our commander in chief with his wife. She's the general, Mr. and Mrs. Christopher and Gilda James. And for those of you that have just tuned in for the show for the first time, I just want to let you know how this show started. I had 300 motivational quotes for the contents of my books and my public speaking. And we started out using some of those quotes, and I got kind of bored. And I said, this show can't be all about me. Naheem came in and said, you know something? We all carry one of these quotes with us. And sometimes many of us have a whole bag full, like Larnez. And we said, let's go ahead and make it about everyone in the world. Maybe we could make a difference in someone's life. And every single Sunday, we have something that changes someone's life, sometimes our own, sometimes people around the world. We have people all the way from Nigeria that have tuned into this show. So we know we're doing our thing. So without any further ado, I'm going to turn the mic over to the voice of our show. He's going to deliver the quote, which was brought to us by PJ today. So we'll find out how this quote landed on her. Kurt, if you don't mind, give us a quote today.
So happy Sunday to all. So glad that you have joined us once again for this fabulous show. Buckle up. Um, the quote for today is, "Don't give in to your fears. If you do, you won't be able to talk to your heart," by Paulo Coelho.
And let me say this before PJ starts. Today's quote opens that door to one's life in the deepest of conversation. It makes it personal. What is your fear? Where does your fears come from? Why does so many of us let our fears hold us back? My grandfather always says, and you'll hear me say this a million times, that education is not designed to make you comfortable. It's designed to make you think. Today, we're just not running from uncomfortable question. We're talking about running towards them. Fear may visit every one of our lives, but it doesn't have to become the author of our own story. So, with that said, kind of set this up, warm it up a little bit, turn up the heat. PJ, how does this quote land on you?
Oi. Um, y'all are gonna have to bear with me today because when I found this quote, I thought it was just nice, and it's always nice to talk about heart versus head. It's a thing country music is made of. But had a crisis with a friend yesterday, was up all night, and it was all about the battle between the heart and the head. So I got up this morning and thought, oh God, I have to talk about that now. Anyway, so I will do my best, but be patient with me. We spend our lives filling our minds with information, experience, and opinions, and we need all that. But there comes a moment when facts can only take us so far. The head remembers what happened. The heart recognizes what matters. Fear has a way of filling every room in our minds. It demands certainty, predicts failure, and whispers reasons to stay exactly where we are. The heart speaks a different language. It doesn't shout. It quietly reminds us of our purpose, our values, and the person we are meant to become. Our best decisions rarely come from the mind or the heart alone. The mind gives us knowledge, the heart gives us wisdom. Together, they help us see clearly. But when fear silences the heart, even the smartest mind may lose its way. Reminds me of Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. My French is not good this morning. He wrote in The Little Prince, "It is only with the heart that one can see rightly. What is essential is invisible to the eye." This week, I want y'all to let go of fear. Don't let it have the final word. Quiet the noise. Listen carefully. Your heart may already know the way. Above all, remember this: the mind collects data, the heart knows truth. The end.
And believe it or not, I was just thinking about Gil Scott Heron, one of the greatest poets, musical poets, putting the truth to a tune, um, and trying not to cover up the lie. Listening to your heart and trusting your heart and your values. PJ, I want to thank you for bringing this quote. And I know this next young brother, when you talk about fear, I don't know what it's like to have 15 pages of dialogue that you have to memorize, and you have to do it live on stage without a cut, second take, third take, or whatever the case may be. But I've watched this young brother go through the process, and I'm going to tell you, all right, I've ran against a guy by the name of Tank, and um, and walked away unscathed. But when I listen to this young brother, and I'm trying to coach him through and talk about the 15 pages of dialogue this young man had to endure, and then watch him. I don't know how he remembered all these words, but I'm going to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, when you are looking at someone that has conquered his fears and he's carried it with him, they never go away. But when you see Naheem Garcia perform live on stage, it allows us to sit back and relax and enjoy all the sacrifices he made and things that he had to overcome and the questions he had in his own mind, and watch him turn his fear into growth. Mr. Naheem Garcia, how does this quote land on you?
Fearful. um, no, and thinking about that is, I was looking up, the word fear in the heart. The fear could also be is not just fear could be a safety mechanism, and just like the heart can go into things blindly. You got to find a balance. And I was looking up the word fear. It said fear creates so much mental noise, playing off of PJ, so mental noise that you lose touch with what you truly want or believe. And then there was a couple of examples. If you want to audition for a role, but you're afraid you won't go through it. And Kevin talks about fear. It's always fearful. I mean, I'm gonna do it to myself again by taking on this play next year, Jitney, and taking on another giant role, and being live. At least in film, you can get away with, say it again, help me out. But when you're live and in front of people, you don't want to disappoint anybody. So you gotta learn to find some kind of balance between fear and your heart so they can communicate properly. Because a lot of times your heart would just go forward no matter what. And somebody thinks that's bravery or foolishness. It could be either or, right? Um, like me saying, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and do another 15 speech page on this play," knowing that it could get a little funky and a little scary, and you don't want to disappoint yourself or other people, you know. So what you do is you react on one and not the other. But when you find balance, you learn to communicate with them both. You learn to tell your heart, "Listen, I know you want to go through, but we gotta be careful here." Or, "Listen, I know you want to do this, but I don't know if I got the capacity." And your heart would say, "Well, I got the capacity, you got the smarts, so let's work together." And somehow you got to find a way to make your heart and your fear work together, because they both can work together. One protects the other, believe it or not. Believe it or not, one protects the other, you know, and they both work hand in hand. You can't move without fear. If it wasn't for fear, you wouldn't know what bravery really was. You wouldn't know how to be strong. Like somebody said, if it wasn't for wrong, you wouldn't know what right is. You know, and your heart reminds you of the goodness, and your fear reminds you to be careful. Peace.
All right, and thank you. It's amazing, and I'm always impressed by all the people on here because I'm just thinking and watching your interpretation of this quote, Mr. Naheem. There's a rhythm to fear in life itself. There's a beat to fear in life itself. And once you get your feet to stomping, get your hips to moving, you've heard people say dance like you don't care that no one's watching or
Mm-hmm,
whatever.
mm-hmm.
I said that's when you're free of what people think of you, how they look at you, how they perceive you, and how they hear you. It's when you get to the point that you free your mind and everything follows, and you really don't care what people think because you're living within your own reality. And at the end of the day, that's all that really matters is what you think of you, and that's how you deal with that. Um,
It's a
Person, a
double Dutch
very
dance.
yep, double dance. I mean, you used to be a breakdance king up there,
And I'm all
so.
broken up because of it.
Well, you should have been afraid. So, um, we haven't heard from the voice of the show in a minute. So, with that smooth, silky, wonderful voice, dreamy, as someone else has said it, Mr. Curtis Battles, will you give us a quote for the day for our listeners?
I will. Uh, Hello, everybody. So happy you could join us. Please remember to come back. Our quote for the day is, "Don't give in to your fears. If you do, you won't be able to talk to your heart."
Well, if anyone can speak to the heart and overcoming the fears, we're not going to talk to the captain of the ship, and I want to thank him for his service and the sacrifices that both of these young people have made. They're like two lovebirds in a tree. I'm going to talk to the commanding chief, yes, Gilda James, and ask her how this quote lands on you.
Grand Rising, everyone. Now, this quote tells children that they should not fear sad or disappointment if they fail or make a mistake. Instead, they should look at it as an opportunity to become better and wiser. That's what this quote landed on me.
And like I said, Commander in Chief, it is so nice to hear your voice, and you're a star, and it's rising. To speak to the children, because a lot of times we overlook the children because we can't get out of our way. Where does fear come from? Lack of faith.
Mhm.
Where does it allow to manifest? Lack of hope. And how does fear change the direction of your course of life? You allow fear to test your resilience instead of the other way around. So I'm going to turn this over because when you cross the sea and like I said with a rhythm, okay, where's the rhythm come from? It comes from the island. All right. The
Yeah.
island of the beat.
Yeah.
So we're gonna set this up in a Jamaican type of way. All right. Yeah, man. We're gonna ask Miss Lois Combo, okay, yeah, man, to go ahead and tell us how this quote lands on her. Lois,
Morning, brethren from Jamaica. Listen, I have a fear. I have a terrible fear. Maybe I have a lot of fears, but this one fear I'm fearful of, and I haven't gotten over that fear, and I don't want to face that fear because that fear wiggles, and I hate wiggling. I have a bad fear. Just talking about it just brings on a fear. So I don't know if I could calm my heart to face that fear. I don't want to face that fear. I don't think I can. Maybe if you guys are there with me, who knows? But fear is, once you hear that word fear, you becomes fearful automatically. It's like, oh, your heart starts racing and you're like, oh, can I do it? Will I do it? My fear is a different kind of fear. I don't want to face it. But um, fear of interviews, like Gilda said, fear children when they're trying to walk, they have a fear. They have the fear of falling. Once they start to walk and they got that rhythm, they're just like, catch me if you can. And we never can. So the heart really does or supposed to calm you. But when I have a fear, my heart goes out of control. So, all right, Lois, take deep breaths. Inhale, relax. It's okay. People have faced this fear before, they have overcome it. You will too. Yeah, but right now I'm fearful. So calm me if you can. But don't give in to your fears. And if you do, you won't be able to talk to your heart. That is a fact. If your heart is calm and you confront your fears, then I guess you'll be in a better state of mind to make better decisions. So don't encourage me to face that fear. But if I have to, sometimes they say face the fear and that's how you overcome it. So I don't know. But pray me up, guys. Pray me up.
we
Thank you.
got you prayed up. We got you. We'll hold you up. Hey, it's amazing when you look at what fuel fear is. It is fuel. Imagine that every human being is designed to run on premium gasoline, but because of our fears and uncertainty, and because we don't want to invest the money or the time or the soul, we run it on regular. All right. Regular fuel will run your engine, but it will also fuel your anxiety. Premium, premium, and critical thinking at different times, and listening to your heart places values on it, and it allows turning that fear into growth. When you're talking about growth, being born a Texan and over 6 foot tall, and then seeing this young man in a military uniform standing on one of the USA's biggest vessels, sailing off to protect our freedom, our mindset, and everything that we live for in this country. You know, that is a big step to volunteer and to also risk your life, knowing that your life could be taken at any given time to serve the better good of mankind and the human race. So I'm going to turn this over, and I've thanked him earlier, and I thank him every single time for his service. I grew up in a military family, but Christopher James, you not only have you served your country, your lineage or your legacy is also doing the same thing in your grandson. Mr. Christopher James, how does this quote land on you?
Grand Rising, everyone. And let me cheat by saying a lot of what Gil presented as far as the children and their relationship to fear. I've got to admit, I probably never matured past the age of 13. Um, I I won't say I'm fearless, but between the conversations my heart and my brain have had with different situations, they, those two guys, my heart and my brain, they tend to make small of anything that should be a fear and say, hey, go ahead and do it. If you can imagine an angel and a devil on my shoulders my entire life, it would be my heart and my brain. My brain is more the devil. He said, hey, come on, you can do it. And the heart is saying, you know what mama's going to say. But the bottom line is the two of them together and me facing a particular fear, the answer is, come on, dude, you can do it. I mean, like, all right, look, I'll keep an eye out for your mom, but you can do this. And I've taken that, you know, not quite so literally, but I've taken that into the service, and I've done things where when I look back and say, oh my God, that was the first impression was that was stupid. The second one was that was fairly ballsy. And the third one was, what, you know, that was incredible. That was incredible. But the bottom line is it starts off with, oh my God, what am I doing here? You know, what got me to this point? Now look at my life. I've ridden submarines for 26 years in the Navy. Most folks would say, you got on a submarine and went to sea for like 90 days. Yeah, it was like a job, but it was fun. I enjoyed it. You guys sailed under the ice, okay? And I said, well, that's not always sailed under, but yeah, we've done that too. The whole thing is there is a market for that type of individual who can properly see a situation, given fear, given the opportunities of success, given all the other dangers, can see that, and then through a logical process, through heart and brain, decide the best way to achieve it, the best way to overcome it. Now, in retrospect, when you sit back, when you write your after report, you say, man, that was crazy. I mean, looking at these odds and you took that into there and succeeded. The idea at the time was I got a mission, I got to get it done. When the after report is written and read by others, they'll say, man, that was crazy. But the thing that I relate to fear and its relationship with the heart and the mind is fear is going to be there. There's fear in every single aspect of our lives. But through the proper handling of it, through the heart and the brain, I won't say the fear goes away because we know fear does exist there, but the opportunity, the success, the possibility of overcoming whatever that is becomes 17 times more possible because you've now figured out what it takes to get it done. So when I saw this quote, I'm thinking, man, how can I relate fear? I don't know fear. And let me please correct that statement. It's that what others would recognize as fear, I've gone through the process of analyzing it bit by bit and what would simply look like fear to anybody else just looks like a job that I got to do. And that's the way I see that quote. And like I said before, I saw this and said, oh man, I can't talk about it. I don't know fear. I realize now that fear has always been out there, but I've had two great advisors to keep me out of trouble. Booyah.
And that's a nice way of looking at it. Because I know in playing contact sports, without being saying, you know, when I mentioned the fact that, you know, when my coach told me to knock a 300-pound man on his butt and that his nickname was called Tank and I was only 165 pounds. What I do know is that every single Sunday, you know, there are a group of people in high school, college, and football. I mean, in the pros that face fear every single day to run into a person at 35 miles an hour is like tackling an old school Cadillac. Sometimes fear does protect us. And when you're going there, instead of acknowledging what you can't do, you embrace what you can. The risk of failing is more fearful than the risk of succeeding. And we all know that when you do something very well, it's like having a custom made dress or the perfect pair of shoes or the best lighting when it comes through. Is that you at the end of the day, you really find out that you don't have anything to fear at all. And especially to our young listeners, we always speak to the old heads, and then hopefully we have a bunch of young listeners that are listening to this and whatever. Respect reality. You know, going up on a roof is not, it's scary for some. The real fear is falling off and landing. That's where the fear lands. All right. It is not going up on the roof because you're not the first person who's ever been on the top of the mountain. You're not the first person who's ever hit 0 to 60 in less than 4 seconds. You're not the first person who's ever dropped under their knee and presented a ring to a woman that said no to 100 men before you. And you're not the first person to fear being honest with a child. Okay. You're not the first person. So when I talk about I open the door, I'm going to ask before I go to Larnez, I'm going to ask the voice of our show to give us the quote one more time. And when I talk about honesty with a child, is that when a mother puts her words and her message into the pages of a great book, not only for her children to remember her voice and to see what she overcome, but she also has put the words on the page for other mothers and other children to see what another mother has done with the things that she feared most. All right. So before we turn the mic over to Larnez, and like I said, Curtis, you said earlier, buckle up. All right. The voice of our show, will you deliver the quote one more time?
Good morning once again, folks. Our quote for the day is, "Don't give in to your fears. If you do, you won't be able to talk to your heart," by Paulo Coelho.
Larnez, how does this quote land on you?
Radiant Rising, always grateful to be here. I want to start off with the truth, right? Fear is a terrible translator. It hears possibility and calls it danger. It hears growth and calls it risk. It hears love and immediately starts looking for all the ways it could end in heartbreak. That's what fear does. Not because it's evil, but because it's efficient. Your brain is designed to remember pain more vividly than pleasure. It catalogs embarrassment, rejection, betrayal, and loss like it's preparing evidence for a trial you never stopped attending. Then one day, without realizing it, you start making decisions based on evidence that's 20 years old. Think about that. How many choices have you been making today because of the version of yourself that no longer exists? That's fear. And here's what Paulo's quote becomes profound. He doesn't say fear will silence your mouth. He says fear will keep you from talking to your heart. That's different because your heart doesn't communicate through panic. It communicates through peace. Your heart is trying to convince you. It's not arguing with you. It simply keeps whispering the same truth until finally you're quiet enough to hear it. The problem is most of us have become fluent in fear. We know exactly what anxiety sounds like, exactly what self-doubt sounds like. But if you ask your heart what your heart sounds like, it's hard for us to answer. Or sometimes you come to the realization that fear has been speaking for you so long that you've mistaken it for your own voice. Your heart doesn't usually ask, what's the safest choice? It asks, what's the truest one? There's a difference. Safety may keep you alive, but truth is what reminds us that we're living. Here's what I believe. You cannot hear your heart if you never learn to observe yourself. Most of us collect data on everything except the one person we're responsible for becoming. We track our bank accounts, our calendars, our social media, our steps, but we rarely collect data on our own inner world. Start paying attention. Notice the people who make your shoulders soften. Notice the conversations that leave you breathing deeper than when they began. Notice what causes your jaw to tighten before you even speak. Notice the environments where your creativity expands instead of contracts. Notice which relationships require performance and which ones invite authenticity. That's data, not drama. Data. Every emotion is information. Every reaction is communication. Every repeated pattern is your nervous system revealing what it believes is necessary to keep you safe. When you begin observing yourself without judgment, you build capacity. Capacity isn't pretending fear has disappeared. Capacity is creating enough space between your fear and your next decision that your heart finally has a chance to speak. Then something beautiful begins to happen. Your heart settles into what I call love posture. A love posture is not pretending life hasn't hurt you. It's deciding that your pain will not become someone else's inheritance. It's choosing to meet people with curiosity instead of assumption, compassion instead of cynicism, presence instead of performance. Because here's the thing. People may forget your accomplishments. They may forget your titles. They may even forget the conversation you had, but they'll never forget how their nervous system felt in your presence. Did they feel safe enough to breathe, safe enough to laugh, safe enough to tell the truth, safe enough to become more of themselves? That's your legacy. Legacy is not simply what you leave behind. Legacy is the love that continues to live inside people because they encountered your heart. Every interaction is an opportunity to leave someone's nervous system calmer than when you found it, to remind someone that they don't have to perform to be worthy, to become evidence that kindness still exists. That's a love posture. That's how healing moves through communities. That's how generations become change and begin to change. So this Sunday, don't spend all your energy trying to silence your fear. Instead, become curious, study yourself, collect your data, build your capacity. And when the noise settles, place your hand on your heart and ask, what have you been trying to tell me that fear has been interrupting? Because your greatest legacy will never be your resume. It will be the people who walk away from your presence carrying more peace, more courage, and more love than they had before they met you. That's what it means to live with your heart in a posture of love. And I'm complete.
I am speechless. All right. When that mic hit the floor and bounced 3 times, like it was going for the NBA 3-point shot. And matter of fact, all net, no rim, nothing but net. If that did not change the way you are positioned in your chair, if you're not standing a little taller after that, you've been on mute for the whole time that Larnez has been speaking. All right. Unmute yourself, go to RMK Productions and network on our YouTube page, replay this, save it, share it, because this message, it's a home run. All right. It was a Super Bowl conversation. Instead of being a TEDx talk, it was a KevX talk because it was real. It was real. So we got so many powerful voices on this show. I mean, I know you're all surprised. And we're not going to be more surprised than listen to professional risk taker, entrepreneur, grandfather, husband, good friend, best neighbor that you could ever had, the voice of our show, Mr. Curtis Battles. And you know, when we get to the point we have the voice speak, we're about to wrap up the end of the show. So I want to thank our listeners for tuning in and riding with us today. This was a joyride. This was that Ferrari of events. You know, you buckle up, step on the gas, and you drift into all the curves because when you talk about fear and you're talking about how it lands in your heart, boy, this was smooth sailing today. Kurt, how's the quote? Give us the quote one more time and give us your interpretation or perspective on the conversation we had and the quote.
Hello, everyone. Once again, our quote for today is, "Don't give in to your fears. If you do, you won't be able to talk to your heart," by Paulo Coelho. So I have a couple takes on this, and I'm going to build upon what PJ started with and what Larnez has just dropped the mic with. So as an entrepreneur, the idea is you want to fail forward fast. You want to, as quickly as you can, get to that point where you're fearful, but you push through it. And it's all about your mindset. So we start with your head is on one side saying, I don't know if I want to put money into this. And you have all these people around you, little voices saying, you know, you're really smart, but I don't know that you can do that. You're really this and you. So it's about being able to go through the facts in your head and understand what your choices are, and then allow the heart to be able to guide you through to where you need to be. So the thing that popped into my head was the idea of a heart attack. So when you have you go along and you suddenly have something that jolts you in such a way that you have to make a change. You have to get beyond wherever you are. You have to really think through because you feel the end is coming right that second. Well, it oftentimes is not the way it's what your mind may be telling you, but your heart says, hey, this is just a step along the way. This is just the process for you to push through this barrier that you're perceiving that may never have been there. That your destiny, your God-given mission is right in front of you, but you have to be willing to put that extra effort in to get there. And so for me, this week has also been one of those where I've been counseling several of colleagues going through difficult challenges where they're at a moment, a major moment in their lives, and they just need somebody to talk to. And so, in my way, I try to be that listener and say, hey, I hear what you're saying, but now here's a couple other things that you might want to think about. And I do hope by the time I finish, I certainly feel taller by having to been a chance to be a part of their lives for that period of time in a moment where it really makes a difference for them. But at the same time, it changes me. It changes me to think about, gee, I'm going through a lot, but I'm not going through everything. There's a lot of people going through much worse that can't eat, don't have a safe place to sleep, don't know where they're going to be tomorrow, trying to figure out what's going on in this crazy world of ours. And so I am incredibly blessed, as are all the people here and those that are listening. And I am so happy that we are able to share all these different perspectives with you about how you can do it. No matter what it is you think you're facing, put on that childlike mind that Kevin talked about, where he's 13 and I don't care. You don't like the way I'm doing it? I don't care. I'm going for the gusto. And that's what I have to say this morning.
All right. And I want to thank um, all of my wonderful co-hosts. I can't do the show without Lois. Can't do the show without Larnez. Can't do the show without the voice, Kurt. Can't do the show without Naheem. Can't do the show without PJ. Can't do the show without two lovebirds. That gives me an example of what hope really looks like and what a shared like-minded conversation looks like. Because we can all talk about it, but we never see it. But when you talk about, you know, two people that have gone through some stuff and have gone through it together, there was never an out. for them. It's like no matter how rough the sea may come, hold my hand, I'll get you over it. And they sail off to the horizon. So Gilda and Christopher. Um, this quote basically answers a lot of questions. When I first saw this quote, the first thing I had to ask is like, I had the mindset of what Christopher said. He was never taught to be feared. I was always taught to respect it. There's a reality. If you cross the highway and there's 30 um, trucks and cars going at 70 miles an hour, I can only run so fast. I'm going to get hit. So guess what I do? I go and find where the lane was driven for me. It's a sidewalk instead of crossing the highway because it could be shorter. But I don't take those risks. I don't take unnecessary risks. But when you look at emotions from the heart, I had to ask myself this morning, what is fear? Why do we have fear? Why do we allow it to exist? Where does fear go at night? And why some people overcome it? And I don't know. But I do know the answer is what Larnez says, truth. What Kurt said, your truth, overcoming your anxieties, and each and every person here echo the same conversation. So we only let things grow where we plant the seed. And if you live your life short, you'll never stand taller. So I would say don't let fear become the loudest voice in your life. Listen to your heart, strengthen your mind, and move forward with courage. Growth begins the moment you stop letting every other decision or other people's decisions stand in your way. I mean, it is real simple. I can't say it as eloquent as Larnaz did or as impactful as PJ did. I'm never going to be able to do a TED talk because in the back of my mind, I'm looking at Kev talk. Fear is one of those natural emotions that can protect us from general dangers crossing that road. All right. But it could also become that barrier for growth when we allow our fears and that conversation to control us. Paulo's quote reminds us that fear becomes the loudest voice in our lives. If we can't drown it out, then it will affect the values, our purpose, and compassion in our dreams. Allow fear to speak clearly. We know the reality. There is an end game. We're all are born at the beginning, but at the end, we'll live our lives ending. But the key thing is in the middle of the beginning is that long dash in your life. Is how do you live your life? How do you affect people? What difference did you make? When we talk about leaving legacy, legacy is the conversation that people have about you that's long after you're gone. The real fear is when your life is silenced or comes to an end, that also your voice is silent. So if you want to know what real fear is being forgotten by people you thought that loved you. Fear is being not remembered for all the good you did, but all the mistakes you allowed to live within your life. Fear is not addressing the love that you've always wanted to exist in a loveless relationship and still craving for love. Fear is not stepping on stage and approaching those 15 pages of dialogue and saying, I'm not the first person that had to put these words to memory. And in the event that you miss a line or two, you do what Naheem Garcia did, okay? He delivered it the way his heart felt it. And I wish, to be very honest, that he would deliver his last line of the play that he was on, because Larnez was so shocked, he scared me. I missed the whole ending of his play. So my fear is next time, I'm not sitting by Larnez. I'm going to sit by someone else that's not going to grab my hand or my leg and allow me to focus in and see Naheem do his thing. So the other thing is too, ladies and gentlemen, if you can't control it, find a way to laugh about it, okay? Because laughter is the food for the heart. And if you don't remember anything that I've said or anyone said, go to our YouTube page, our RMK Productions and Network, and download this segment of Motivations with Kevin and Friends. And like I said, I face my fears. I'm not going to ask you to like, follow, subscribe, or whatever. I'm going to leave that up to you because we're all individuals. But I hope that we did something that made a difference in your life. I know I live with something my grandfather always said. He says, when you get to a point in life that you can help someone else out, he said it's your duty to do so. He said, reach one, teach one. And with that said, we what?
Fade to black.
And make sure you come back.
Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, another edition of Motivational Sundays with Kevin and Friends. And we're out.
Welcome Motivation Sunday with Kevin and friends.